All right, let's talk about a skill that's a real game changer for readers. We're going to break down the difference between a main idea, a central idea, and a theme. Honestly, once you nail this, you'll find you can read anything with way more clarity. Let's get into it.
You know that feeling, right? We've all been there. You've read every single word on the page, you get to the end, and the big takeaway is just gone. It's like you're so focused on all the little details that you totally miss what the author was trying to say.
Okay, take this little bit from Tolstoy's War and Peace. We get all this stuff about Pierre. He's stout, his hands are huge and red, he's clumsy, he even grabs the wrong hat. It's just a whole flood of information, isn't it? If you get stuck on just those little details, you miss the much bigger and frankly more interesting point Tolstoy's making about this guy.
But hey, no worries, we've got a game plan. First, we'll talk about the big idea in general. Then we'll start with the foundation, the topic. After that, we'll tackle the big one, main idea versus theme. Then we'll bring in the concept of a unifying central idea. And finally, we'll pull it all together so you can start reading like an absolute pro. Let's dive in.
You've heard that phrase, right? Seeing the forest for the trees? Well, when it comes to reading, that is everything. The trees are all those little details, like Pierre's clumsy hands. But the forest, that's the author's whole point. And great readers, they just know how to zoom out and see that bigger picture.
So really, our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're going to give you the tools to find that core message, that main point that's buried under all the supporting details and descriptions. By the time we're done, you'll be able to spot it in pretty much anything you read. Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, it all starts with the most basic building block of all, the topic. It's super simple. Before we can figure out what an author is saying about something, we've got to know what that something even is.
Think of it this way. The topic is just the most important noun in the whole text. It's the who or the what, the person, the place, the thing, the idea. If you're reading an article about polar bears, the topic is polar bears. That's it. It's your starting point.
All right, now for the big one, main idea and theme. People mix these up all the time, but there's a really easy way to keep them straight. You just have to ask yourself one simple question. Am I reading this to get information, or am I reading a story? And this chart really lays it out perfectly. Main ideas for nonfiction, right? It's the author's main point. Theme, on the other hand, that's for literature. It's the deeper life lesson. But here's what's really important. Notice that similarity at the bottom? Both of them have to be a complete sentence. They're never just a single word.
So, let's look at an example for main idea. Just read this little paragraph about yo-yos. Now, a super common mistake is to think the main idea is always the first sentence. But look here, the first sentence is really just introducing modern yo-yos.
But the real main idea, the one that makes you go, whoa, is actually smack in the middle. Yo-yos of the past, though, were used not as toys, but as deadly weapons. You see that? Every other detail, the 4-pound stone, the 20-foot vine, it all exists just to support that incredible idea. Now let's switch gears and find a theme. Here's a quick story. There's this teenager, Jake, and he's working his tail off trying to save his grandpa's summer camp. It's not easy, but he finally pulls it off by organizing a huge fishing contest. And his dad is, of course, super proud of him. But here's where it gets really good. His grandpa comes to him and says, "No, you saved the camp." He makes it clear that all those kids are going to have a summer because of what Jake did. And not right there, that's where you find the real heart of the story. See, this is the key. The theme isn't just Jake saved the camp. That's just what happened in the story. The theme is the big, universal lesson that we can all learn from it. In this case, it's something like, one person's determination can inspire and save a community. It's a truth about life that goes way beyond just this one story. Okay, so we've got main idea for nonfiction and theme for fiction. Cool. But what if you need a single term that works for both? Well, that's where the central idea comes into play. Just think of it like a giant umbrella that both main idea and theme can comfortably fit under. The central idea is just the number one most important message the author wants you to walk away with, no matter what kind of text it is. And that's exactly why you'll sometimes hear people use it for either main idea or theme. It's a really flexible and useful term for getting to the heart of any piece of writing. All right, we've got all the definitions down. But how does this actually work when you're reading a book or an article? Let's use a really simple analogy to make this whole thing stick. I want you to picture any text you read as a tree. The big, sturdy trunk, that's your topic.
It's what everything else is built on. The main branches coming off that trunk, that's your central idea. The smaller branches are your key supporting details, and all those little leaves are the minor details. A pro reader sees how all the leaves and branches connect back to the trunk.
So let's bring it all the way back to our friend Pierre. All those little details, the red hands, the wrong hat, pulling the plume, those were the leaves. But the main branch they were all growing from, the main idea, it's simply that Pierre is physically and socially awkward. And once you see that, all those weird little details suddenly make perfect sense. Okay, pop quiz time. Let's make sure this is all sinking in. First one, what's the real difference between a topic and a main idea? Well, the topic is just the what, a word or a phrase. The main idea is the author's point about the what, and it's always a full sentence.
Question 2. If you're reading a poem or a story, what are you looking for? Main idea, central idea, or theme? Yep, you got it. It's the theme. You're hunting for that universal lesson about life. Okay, next up, this is a good one. Why can't the theme just be one word, like love? Because love is a topic. A theme has to say something about love. It has to be a full thought, like love often requires great sacrifice. It's the message, not just the subject.
And last one, why is central idea such a handy term? Because it's our umbrella, remember? It's the one term that can capture the single biggest takeaway from any text, whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
So, now it's your turn. The next time you finish reading an article, or even watching a movie, I want you to challenge yourself. Don't just think about the plot. I want you to step back, look at the whole tree, and ask, okay, what was the real point of all that? What was the central idea?